discriminating. A person who discriminates differentiates between or among things. And so we say he has discriminating taste, meaning he can discriminate between what is superior and what is inferior, what is admirable and what is not admirable. Disdain is scorn. Good word. It's both a noun and a verb. He showed disdain for the people in that group. Scorn. He disdained the people in that group. Disgust, also a noun and a verb. He showed disgust for the terrible behavior of the other people, the barbarians. Their behavior disgusted him, verb. Disinclination, opposite inclination. I have a disinclination to speak too openly about some subject because I fear that I will upset people or something. That is, I hesitate, I decide not to do it. I'm disinclined to do it. I'm inclined to, that is, I have a strong temptation to. I'm disinclined to, that is, I'm reluctant to. Disparate, good word. Disparate, diverse. Diverse. A disparate, disparate, hard one. Good word, but I can't think of an example. Disparity is inequality. Parity, equality. Disparity, inequality. The disparity of their ages made this couple seem ludicrous or ridiculous or not acceptable. The disparity of their fortune, he rich, she poor. Inequality. Dispensary is normally a place where medicine is dispensed. That is, often a doctor is not even there, only a nurse. Like a small clinic. To dispense with something, VI, is to do without and perhaps even discard, which we had before. Let's dispense with ceremony. I hate you. Let's do away with, throw away. Stupid example, I must be tiring. To disperse is to scatter. The crowd dispersed after the accident. The crowd scattered and went away. Disposition. I'll use it in the primary sense. His disposition is very good, meaning his temperament, meaning he's friendly, never depressed or ill-tempered or angry or irritable. He has a good disposition. To dispute is like to debate, to disagree about, but I will not dispute the fact that he is a good athlete, but I will dispute the fact that he is a good person. Dispute VT there. VI, they disputed, or a noun, better. Dispute is a noun, better. They had a dispute about the government's decision, a disagreement. To dissect is to cut apart. To dissect a frog, medical students dissect frogs and cats and all kinds of animals to understand the inner organs and workings. To dissipate, very good, it's similar to disperse. To dissipate is to scatter something, but I said disperse, VI, the crowd dispersed, period, after the accident. Good. To dissipate is VT, that is, he dissipated his fortune quickly, scattered it, lost it, wasted it. He leads a dissipated life, drinks too much, runs around too much. To dissipate, good. To dissuade is the opposite of persuade. He persuaded me to go with him. I dissuaded him from doing this dastardly deed, this reprehensible or bad deed. To distribute is to hand out and give to people. The medical students distribute little pamphlets or pieces of paper that have to do with the crisis there of the doctors and pharmacists and all that. To disturb is to upset the composure of. Some news disturbed me, meaning I felt composed, I was calm and happy, but the news disturbed me. Now, on hotel doors, you hang out the sign, "Do not disturb," meaning I don't want any company now, I don't want to be interrupted, I'm sleeping or doing something. To divert is like to detour, or to deter, kind of. To divert funds, let's say the bank plans to spend, or the government plans to spend X billion on some highway. They divert the funds to some other cause. Divine, having to do with the supernatural, God specifically, or gods. Divine intervention, that's a good one. Only divine intervention can help him on his sunung. Okay? Only if God intervenes and helps him directly. Divine intervention. To divulge is to reveal. To divulge a secret. To divulge a secret only. Docile. Calm, easily instructed, easily leadable. An animal perhaps, a child, especially a docile child, doesn't fight, doesn't resist. Some observations about vocabulary. I seem to have many students now, Dr. Shin of course too, who are planning to go to the States. And I'm watching people do things the wrong way, I think. Now, everything depends on whether one is, what was that gentleman's name? Hong Chung-uk. Hong Chung-uk, the famous Hong Chung-uk, I guess. Now, he was serious, of course. His intention was to learn the English language and everything, all the words in it. I think that was his intention, and perhaps he did it. He had many advantages, of course. 4 years at Choate, I think. I don't know about 4, but I think 4. 4 years at Choate, doing well, president of his class, blah, blah, blah. But here's my point. If you are serious about learning vocabulary words, then here's what I think here is some advice. First of all, you must constantly review what you did last week. Students come here, 2 students are coming here now who arrived yesterday with this week's list of 150 words. Well, it's absurd to suppose that, first of all, that they will learn those 150 words. I don't think they will. If they wanted to, really they could. But the problem will be that next week, of those 150 words, they will remember 10, maybe 10. Unless the student is prepared to constantly review, seriously, aggressively review, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It just is a waste of time. If you want to learn these things, then get serious. If we're playing a game, then I think you should play another game. Learn 10 words a week, maybe. Bring it down. Even then, you will not remember them next week unless you review. Review is the only way. I put this in pictorial fashion yesterday for some students. The common way is a straight arrow. That is a linear style. This week's words, next week's words, just keep going in that direction, never looking back. Total waste of time. Almost total, immense waste of time. The only reasonable way is like this. I'm moving that way, but I'm constantly reviewing backward. It's the only way. Otherwise, you are literally wasting your time. Second, I think Dr. Shin's idea of our exercise here is great. And frankly, I don't see how a student could do this on his or her own. That is, someone has to tell the student how these words are used. And the students who don't learn how these words are used, the two students who arrived yesterday with their 150 words and their Korean definitions for this week, many of the words absurdly useless, sublimely useless, just words caught, I think, by a well-meaning teacher maybe, but just going through the dictionary, that looks good, that looks good. It can't be. Even the lists made by natives are suspect, I think, but again, my point, constant review if you are serious. If you're not serious, then you are playing a game, I'm playing a game, Dr. Shin is playing a game, the parents are playing a game, all a game. And that is probably the truth. We are all playing a game. But if you're not just playing a game, then you must constantly review the words that you did last week. You must aggressively relearn the words that either you never learned in the first place or that you've forgotten. And secondly, I think you must pay attention to something like Dr. Shin's film, or somehow find out how these words are used by people who know how to use them. Sometimes dictionaries have this information. Sometimes dictionaries offer sentences. The great dictionaries, like the Oxford English Dictionary, offer many sentences from historical passages in which one can see these words used. But if the student has only a Korean definition, or worse, an English definition, which he or she 50% understands, well, this is worthless. This is pointless. So, my advice, I'm sorry, I like to tell you brutal truths as I see them, and Dr. Shin encourages me to do this, and so I'm doing it. Again, get serious, or you're wasting a lot of time. Okay, first word, drifter. I suggest not a very serious word, almost slang, but to drift is to wander around, kind of not have a home, wander from place to place, as we say. A drifter is a person who does this. Poor, probably. Dystopia. Wow, I have never seen this word, but let's figure it out. D-Y-S, dys, from Greek, means bad, basically. Dyslexia, dysfunctional, this, that. Topia probably has to do with place. So dystopia is a technical, probably medical word, I assume. Perhaps from optometry, eyes, something like that, maybe. Having to do with misplacement, that's my guess. Dr. Shin will correct me if he, or we will find the meaning. I've never heard of it. Ebb. The tide ebbs, waxes and ebbs. To wax, by the way, very good word, poetic word always. If things wax, they grow. If they wane, they diminish, they become smaller. Ebb is to slip away, like the tide. His strength ebbed as the game went on. Eccentric, excellent, important word. Out of the ordinary, but strange, bizarre. My haircut is a bit eccentric, and maybe I'm a little eccentric, or maybe very. But maybe we're all pretty eccentric. The more closely one looks at any human being, the more eccentric that person becomes.